Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I am Jen and this is Fundie Fridays. And here on my channel, I talk about different aspects of Christian fundamentalism while I do my makeup. Today's episode is about Jim Jones, a man who was responsible for the deaths of 900 people. And he is literally the reason that people even use the phrase, drink the Kool-Aid. I myself have used that phrase before, and I think that we should retire it. It's not very funny. And no, I'm not drinking Kool-Aid. I'm drinking blood. Now that I've got that joke out of the way, I don't have to keep my mouth closed. Yes, I have undergone the transformation. I am now a day walker, and I'll let you know that I won't drink your blood unless you forget to subscribe. Then we will have a problem. All jokes aside, I am going to give you a pretty hefty content warning. If you are not aware of Jim Jones and what he did, first of all, I'm very jealous. I wish that I didn't know. Second of all, I'm not going to play anything graphic. I'm not going to show any bodies, but 900 people, including 300 children, were killed at the hands of Jim Jones. I understand if you would like to turn back now. There have been about 1 million movies, documentaries, books, scholarly articles, podcasts, memes about this story, and it has been covered countless times. So let's see if I can bring anything new or interesting to the conversation. There's a 99.9% chance that this video is going to be demonetized because of the content, so here is a word from our sponsor. I am proud to announce that today's episode is sponsored by Hunt a Killer. Hunt a Killer is a murdery mystery game subscription box. With each box, you decode puzzles, crack ciphers, and learn the backstory of a group of complex characters in order to solve a murder. And because I love you guys so much, and, you know, I thought I'd give you a little something special for the spooky season, you can go to huntakiller.com/Fundie and use my code Fundie for $10 off your purchase. So this season's mystery is Mallory Rock, and they did not disappoint. And I don't know if you knew this, but they actually have a trailer for the season's mysteries. How's that for immersion?
6 weeks ago, her body washed up on North Beach.
It's Beth.
The cops think it was an accident. They said she fell from a bluff and drowned. There's only one problem. Beth was scared of heights, and I mean terrified. My sister was murdered.
I don't know about you, but I am so excited to play this one. It's giving Stephen King, it's giving Midnight Mass, it's giving Lighthouse. I don't know about the last one, I didn't actually watch it, but this looks like fun. I mean, look at the cipher on this one. It's Bible verses. It's like this mystery was written specifically for the Gennonites, okay? It is fun to play Hunt a Killer by yourself, and I have done that, but I do prefer to play with friends. After all, sometimes a fresh pair of eyes is all you need when you're solving a puzzle that you've been staring at for hours. I mean, come on, look at the world building in this. I can't wait to play this. Hunt a Killer is great because not only does it let you experience the fun of a murder mystery or an escape room in the privacy of your own home, but also part of the proceeds for every box goes to the Cold Case Foundation, an organization that is dedicated to helping solve real-life cold cases. And if you've ever watched the Netflix show Mindhunter, John E. Douglas, the inspiration for that show, is actually the chairman of the board. So if this sounds like a fun game you'd like to try and you want $10 off your purchase, then make sure to go to huntakiller.com/Fundie and use my code Fundie. It's very easy to remember. So thanks again to Hunt a Killer for sponsoring this video. I cannot wait to play this box. And I love you guys. And now back to our regularly scheduled programming. So I'm obsessed with vampires right now. I've been watching What We Do in the Shadows, and we just started True Blood. And I have a vampire sim who just had a baby, and that's a whole thing. You know, it truly is a full-time job. First of all, I gotta address some things. I didn't know that my moving space background in the last episode was gonna make so many people become nauseous. I'm really sorry. I guess I won't play any moving backgrounds like that anymore. The other thing, a lot of you are telling me to dye my hair black. Do not tempt me. Because I'm in a very volatile state, and I don't need hair dye suggestions because I swear to God I will do it. And the other housekeeping thing I need to mention, apparently I did say that I was going to review the Gwen Shambo documentary. So that is my own fault. I don't have any plans to. I'm sorry. I'm a liar and a vampire. Well, anyway, let's get fucking started. James Warren Jones was born May 13th, 1931. His father, James Thurman Jones, was a World War I veteran. By all accounts, little Jim Jones was a very weird child. He was doing some Dexter level shit, okay? Performing vivisections on animals and then having funerals for them. Jim Jones, as a child, was obsessed with Karl Marx and Hitler, and while there's nothing wrong with studying Hitler per se, I think we all know somebody in high school who was a little too obsessed with World War II who grew up to be an alt-right shitposter, so keep an eye out. There are tons of anecdotal stories about Jones regarding race relations, such as him throwing a Nazi salute to a soldier at a parade, or that his dad was supposedly in the KKK or friends with somebody in the KKK. I don't really care. To which Jim Jones heroically fought with his dad about issues of race. But personally, I don't think any of that part of his origin story matters. The 900 people that he killed, 70% of which being black people, do not give a shit that he was racially grandstanding back in the 60s. Jones lured people of color into his congregation because he wanted people that he felt he could easily control. This was on purpose and heavily documented. These people were already disadvantaged by widespread oppression, and they had been sold this image of a white savior for years. So Jones took it upon himself to be that white savior. He spoke of their oppression and claimed to stand on their side in combating racial injustice, while actually he was really only working towards his own twisted goals. Jones was not doing them a favor, nor helping them in any meaningful way. They never needed him. Yet his career was built on the kindness and generosity of people of color, and he took all of the credit. He targeted people that were desperate and yearning for hope, and he evoked ideas of socialism and racial equality as means to build a zeal for his supposed cause. Jones then channeled his righteous fury into his own disgusting gain. The People's Temple did amazing altruistic things for the community like food drives and other social programs, and as a group they were pro-LGBTQ when that was highly controversial. Jones simply let other people do the hard work for him, stamped his brand on it at the end, and then used his powerful position to siphon recognition from real change makers in his flock. And while it is true that Jones sought to integrate his church when that wasn't popular, and he rubbed shoulders with liberal politicians, I am not giving him a good person pass. Besides, being non-racist is the bare minimum. You shouldn't be praised for something that you're already supposed to be doing. Jones and his wife proudly adopted what they kept referring to as a rainbow family, and they would parade all of their children around to further bolster their clout with vulnerable followers. And Jones would refer to himself as the N-word, which, I promise you, dude, that's not the flex you think it is. Although 70% of his temple was made up of black people, the actual leadership and higher-ups in the church were white women, if you could believe that. And the entire time in the behind the scenes of the People's Temple, Jones was getting high, physically assaulting church members, and cheating on his wife, fathering several children along the way. He made just enough time in his week to get up in front of his followers and remind them that he was the prophet, so he could claim all of their good work and acts with his disturbing impunity. But we are skipping ahead, so let's get back to Jones's adolescence. In 1948, Jones graduated from Richmond High School. He then worked as an orderly at Richmond's Reed Hospital, where staff members later recalled that Jones exhibited disturbing behavior. One former co-worker of Jones, with whom he had been childhood friends, recalled an incident where Jones manhandled a patient in traction while dry shaving him, resulting in the patient's injury with a straight razor, and then giving a menacing look to the co-worker. It was also at this hospital where Jones met his wife, Marceline Baldwin, and they got married in 1948. In 1951, the couple relocated to Indianapolis, where Jones started attending Indiana Jones University must be the rivals to Limp Bizkit University. So my fucking microphone battery died, so that's great. God is truly testing me today. Around this time was when Jim Jones started really becoming interested in communism, Marxism, pretty much anything that Fox News would say is bad. This was really controversial because there was this thing called the Red Scare. I don't have time to get into it, but being associated with communism was very dangerous and could land you in prison. It was through these Marxist interests that Jones even ended up in the church. Once again, Jones did not care about socialism or the working class, but rather he wanted to take these concepts and manipulate vulnerable people. The tragic irony of socialism is that when someone like Jones uses it as a tool for mass manipulation, those they tend to draw in the flock are poor people. Jones lied to these people without the resources to properly challenge his claims, and once they were in too deep, they didn't have the money to get out. These people were financially, socially, and physically entrenched in this group, and they could not leave because everything was tied up in that.
This administration is for no other purpose.
That's right.
Than to show mankind the road to freedom. Condescending saviors that come to us by their so-called pity from some judgment hall. But I'm here as a sample and example to show you that you can bring yourself up with your own bootstraps, and you can become your God, not in condescension, but in resurrection, in upliftment from whatever condition, economic injustice or servitude or racism you might have had to endure. Within you rest the keys of deliverance. Right. We ask for no condescending saviors. We want no help from some judgment hall. That has been pawned off on us too long. Now we are looking to the key that is within every heart and breast. And I, a God that came from the earth of earth, from the dust of this toilsome fields and the hardships of labor, from the lowest of economic positions, from the misery of poverty near the railroad tracks, I came to show you that the only God you need is within you. None other. That's my only purpose in being here. When that transition comes, there shall be no need for gods or any other kind of ideology, rituals, tradition, and religion. The opiate of the people shall be removed from the consciousness of all mankind. There shall be no longer further need for anything religious when freedom comes. There will be no need for concerns about the tomorrows, because every day will be heaven. We will have built the heaven that man has suppositionally dreamed about. We will have the heaven that we have been taught by the white masters would one day be given to us, that we might be able to shine somebody's shoes in the throne room. But we shall have our freedom here and now.
In 1952, Jones saw a faith healing service, and that was an absolute light bulb moment for him. He observed that these faith healings and so-called miracles attracted people, and most importantly, their money, and he concluded that he could accomplish his social goals with financial resources from the church. So in 1956, he started hosting his old-time faith revival tent healings. He would also sneak around the parking lot and memorize people's license plate numbers, and then, like, try to impress people by telling them what their license plate number was. And I'm like, how is that even impressive? But I remember it's the 50s, and they were impressed by things like blue jeans and leaded gasoline.
You've told me nothing about your condition. Is that correct?
No, I haven't.
Give that little sweetheart a little bit of love. Thank you, baby. Peace. Now, take your glasses off. Let's just dare in our faith. We've seen Sister Brown here, who was blind, totally healed. We saw one of our sisters blind from her childhood. It could be hysterical blindness, whatever. We're not concerned. She was blind and could not see. Now, look at my face. I'm going to hold up some fingers. You concentrate hard. I love you. The people love you. And most importantly, Christ loves you. What do you see? How many fingers?
3.
One finger. You don't even need your glasses, child. Let's all be thankful as she cries back there. Let's cry and rejoice with her.
Jones would actually make people sit through his entire sermon, a communist one, before they were allowed to see the faith healing, and that helped him out a lot because it drew a lot of crowds, and he got to indoctrinate people. Eventually, Jones was able to set up his own church, and he called it the People's Temple Christian Church Full Gospel, shortened to the People's Temple. And once Jones had established this church, he started demanding things of his followers, such as giving over their possessions and money, making people call him and his wife mother and father, adopting their children, and he also started claiming that he was multiple different prophets from the Bible. So not only was Jones making people submit their entire lives to him, but his teachings went from regular charismatic preachings to aggressive, nonsensical tirades. In the 70s, Jones started teaching an anti-Bible message, which you can guess was not very popular at all.
And in the meantime, I come in the phenomena of religion to get people out of religion. I came the very God of heaven in all of its might and fullness, with all the power that you said God had. I have come to make one final dissolution, one final elimination of all religious opinion. There's no room in the consciousness of truth for religious opinion. And until I have eradicated it from the face of the earth, I shall do all the miracles that you said your God would do and never did. I shall come and heal you of all the diseases that you prayed for that never happened. You saw the woman today that did not give the message that I told her, but she said, I will be with you because I gave her a message that saved her child's life. Otherwise, it would have been destroyed by fire. You've seen all the gifts and faculties of the woman that moved down the aisle when I told her, I, God, command you to walk, and she walked. Not only did she walk, but she ran around this room. But all that is done that I might eliminate all of the condescending Savior images that you have. To remove all the judgment hall concepts and all the heavens and the sky and all the sky God consciousness. I want to eliminate it from the opinions of people to recognize finally and completely that there is no God but. I see there's some still not aware of what God is. God is perfect freedom, justice, equality, and thus the only thing that brings perfect justice, freedom, and equality, perfect love in all of its beauty and holiness is socialism. So God is socialism. And socialism is law. And the twain have been married. In this dispensation, I have taken upon myself a body, the same one that walked in the plains of Mamre, of whom Solomon said his hair was as black as a raven, and he would shave, as Isaiah said, 7:20, he will shave after those days with a razor. I come shaving with a razor. I come with the black hair of the raven. I came as a God socialist to eliminate all your false gods and opinions. And that administration has been done. Then I shall go into the obscurity of the conscious collective principle, socialism, and will have no need to make any further intrusion in the affairs of man. Men have so dastardly distorted what my spirit is that it is necessary for me to come upon the scene, and I have. I shall show you from time to time proofs of that so that you will have no further need of religion, because the highest authority tells you that you have no further need of it. I've come doing all the things you ever imagined God to do and have never seen done. You have never seen anyone resurrected before your eyes, and yet you have seen me do it repeatedly. You've never seen anyone shot down as I was before your eyes with the blood spurting from the body and heal themselves, yet I, the socialist worker, did that. It's beautiful to know God is a socialist worker. You can identify with that. God is a socialist worker. One of the people. He's an instrument of all that you have desired. All that freedom embraces, all that justice embodies, everything that sensitivity imbibes, that is what your God is. And I must say it is a great effort to be God. I wish it upon another, but no one else in the particular stratum of the class consciousness that we are evolving in has the faculty that I do. When they do, I'll be glad to hold their coat. In the meantime, I shall be God, and beside me there shall be no other.
Jones also claimed that he was the only heterosexual on Earth. This is opposite of the fact that he was actively having sex with men, but let me just read this to you. Jones didn't always practice what he preached in his personal life. In December 1973, he was arrested for lewd conduct at a Los Angeles movie theater. And during his final months in Jonestown, Jones was addicted to pharmaceutical drugs. A married man who adopted children of different racial backgrounds, Jones also engaged in sexual relations with some of his female and male followers. Jim said that all of us were homosexuals, Joyce Houston, an ex-Temple follower, said. Everyone except him. He was the only heterosexual on the planet, and that the women were all lesbians. The guys were all gay, and so anyone who showed an interest in sex was just compensating. Tim Carter, another ex-member, says that Jones hated romantic relationships within the People's Temple because they were seen as a threat to the cause and that the members should be focused on their work. My wife Gloria and I were one of those couples who never really talked to each other about what our true feelings were about Jones. He says, or anything else, because we were afraid that the other one might end up getting called to the carpet. In the book Road to Jonestown by Jeff Gwynne, he states, Jones, however, claimed that he detested engaging in homosexual activities, and he did so only for the male temple adherents' own good, purportedly to connect with them symbolically. Fellas, is it gay to connect symbolically with your prophet? Apparently the answer is yes. Jones also had what he called a fuck schedule, which is not funny, because what he was doing was rape. Of Jones's great passions, Gwynne focuses less on socialism than sex. We watch as the political preacher employs a secretary to maintain a, quote, fuck schedule. He deflowers a 14-year-old girl, that's rape, driving her family from the group. He orders a particularly zealous member to disrobe in front of the People's Temple leadership, only cruelly to quash her hope, saying, if I had a list of people I didn't want to fuck, you'd be on top. Though he somewhat faithfully practices racial discrimination in the bedroom, he welcomes both sexes as outlets. I just look like a marionette every time I put blush on. Oh well. Is marionette, by the way, a drag name? It should be. The media and concerned citizens had caught wind of Jones's off-the-wall teachings, their family members disappearing, and disturbing threats of committing what Jones called revolutionary suicide. He wanted to do this to take away the satisfaction of these tyrannical overlords that were supposedly going to kill the People's Temple, and so the pressure was definitely hot on this group. And by the way, Jones stole the idea of revolutionary suicide from the Black Panthers, and he didn't even use it correctly. Black Panther Party leader Huey Newton coined the term revolutionary suicide in the late 1960s in the context of what a revolutionary should expect as the consequence of challenging the system. If you carried the banner of revolution into the street to stand up against the power of the man was going to shoot you down. You would die at the hands of the oppressor, but the movement would continue. A brother or sister walking behind you would pick up that banner and keep walking. They would likely be shot down as well as numerous revolutionaries following them. But one day, one of your successors was going to carry that banner all the way to freedom from the oppression and tyranny of the system. So Jones couldn't even plagiarize correctly. I really fucking hate him. One of the major reasons that Jones so urgently went to Guyana was the publication of this article from New West called Inside People's Temple. It was written by Marshall Kilduff and Phil Tracy, and it interviewed several ex-members of the temple, and they talked about just how abusive Jones was and how crazy everything had gotten, and it included a scathing takedown. So facing pressure from politicians, journalists, and concerned citizens, Jones commanded his followers to pack up their shit, leave their families behind, and move to Guyana, a country on the northern mainland of South America that at the time was colonized by Britain. Jonestown was huge. It was over 3,000 acres that he had leased from the government, and it was very remote with only one dirt road leading in and out, and they were about 5 miles from an airstrip, which comes in later. This place was huge. They had a clinic, a schoolhouse, a nursery, a farm, all kinds of apartments and houses.
My name is Anthony Simon. I'm here in the Promised Land, and I want to say hi to everybody. My main activities here right now are I'm working on a fishing trawler, and I enjoy going down the rivers, meeting new people, which will soon be our hope line in the world, feeding people. We'll be going fishing pretty soon. We have a crew of 5. Okay.
But it was kind of bare bones, and apparently the soil was really shitty, so they had to import a lot of things, and that is where we ended up with all of the drugs and cyanide that Jones was able to get, is because he was smuggling this shit in and out. So in Jonestown at this moment, there was like a couple hundred people. And because of the urgency that Jones felt from this article being published, plus I'm pretty sure he was fleeing charges of sexual assault, not a surprise, he was like, we gotta go, we gotta get the hell out of here. He lied to his followers and he said that they would be starting this post-racial utopia by encroaching on indigenous people's land, by the way, and said that they would be free of the Jim Crow oppression they faced in America. That is so fucked up to tell black people or any other oppressed group that they should leave somewhere because the culture that they live in is going to discriminate against them. It puts the burden of change on those who are being harmed rather than putting the burden on people that are doing the harming. The culture should change. People should stop being racist. You shouldn't tell an entire group of people to leave. Everyone deserves a nice community to live in where they are safe and loved. God, I hate him. I hate him so fucking much. So another thing that I did not know anything about was apparently Jim Jones had a pet chimpanzee named Mr. Muggs, and he was even weird about that because he said he rescued him, even though there is proof that he apparently fucking got him from a pet shop in Indiana. That's really not even that surprising. In the 60s, yeah, they probably had fucking monkeys at the pet shop. Like, I'm done with this shit. That makes me so mad, it makes me want to rip my tooth out. Also at Jonestown, they had a toy shop, and they made dolls and trains and stuff, and they even made knockoff Mickey Mouse characters, and they made a couple thousand off of this, but they were called Marcy Toys. So when Jones arrived to Jonestown, it was extremely overcrowded because he just brought a couple hundred people, and he was also in his just the full throes of addiction. Jones was abusing everyone, including the children. There are stories of him making the children eat their own vomit. Jones was also reading the news to everyone and making them watch these political movies, and then he would quiz them and scream at them if they didn't understand the opinion he was trying to have. He would get mad if they weren't interested, and then he would just go on these crazy monologues, and we know all this because he taped all of it. And I'll tell you right now, do not look up these tapes. I know you're curious, but they will haunt you forever, and they're incredibly traumatizing, and there's a reason why I'm not playing any clips from them. Even though Jones painted this place as a post-racial utopia, what it really was 20-plus hour days working in the hot, humid jungle, cut off from friends, family, nutritious food, and sleep. And to top it all off, they would have to hear Jones's crazy-ass ramblings over the loudspeaker at all hours of the day. And then they were publicly humiliated and beaten when he was in a bad mood. And keep in mind, nobody was allowed to leave. Even Jones's own sons barely made it out of there alive, and that was a complete coincidence. Actually, if I rub it like that, looks a little more realistic, huh? Looks like I just got done taking a big drink. Now I feel stupid for taking my teeth out. The reason why Jones had the money to do all this kind of stuff was that he was having people use their social security checks to pay for everything. According to Wikipedia, that was about $65,000 a month. Probably used on drugs and snacks for Jones because he had all that set up at his house. They had practice drills for the massacre, and these were referred to as white nights. And he would tell everybody, okay, the CIA capitalist pigs are coming to kill us. What are you going to do? Are you going to commit suicide? Are you going to stay in Jonestown and fight the attackers? Or are you going to run into the jungle? And he would give them a drink, and they would drink it, and he would watch them to see how they would react. And he would say, okay, that wasn't poison, but I'm glad that you guys all picked the right idea. I don't think people actually thought that he was going to do it. They probably thought that he was just crazy and that this was just another one of his quirks. Jones actually had a jeweler's license, and he had been buying cyanide to clean gold, and he was actually testing it on the pigs in the camp. So Jones was getting crazier by the day, and he even said, the last orgasm I'd like to have is death. Sounds like a Joker quote, but go off. November 15th, 1978, a group of concerned citizens, including a California congressman named Leo Ryan, came to check out the claims of abuse at Jonestown. There are tapes of it, and I'll show you some, because it's not bad.
You're happy here?
I'm very happy here. It's the best place I've ever been.
And a concert is held in the pavilion for the visitors.
I think that all of you know that I'm here to find out more about questions that have been raised about your operation here. But I can tell you right now that from the few conversations I've had with some of the folks here already this evening that whatever the comments are, there are some people here who believe that this is the best thing that ever happened to them in their whole life.
The congressmen and the news reporters and everybody were all set to give a good report back to the U.S. Everyone that Leo talked to gave a good report of the place, which is funny because Jones had actually coached them on what to say to the media. He also had them sign fake confessions to crimes they didn't commit, so he had leverage over them. Another reason why they chose to stay. There were even stories of people trying to escape previously who were shot or forced to wear iron braces on their legs so that they couldn't leave. And even if, and that's a big if, they actually left, they were still financially, socially, and legally entrenched in this madman's commune in the jungle. So when the People's Temple saw these Americans here trying to paint a positive picture of the place, they took their chances and many of them asked to leave. Temple member Vernon Gosney passed a note meant for Congressman Ryan to an NBC reporter, and this note asked for assistance in leaving, as well as taking another person with him. Can you imagine the pressure of trying to pass a hostage note to someone in such a tense environment without drawing attention to yourself, knowing full well that you might be executed? It isn't easy.
Last night, someone came and passed me this note.
Well, that's who we're talking about. He wants to leave his son here. If Jonestown's such a bad place, why does he want to leave his son here?
Doesn't it concern you, though, that this man, for whatever reason, one of the people in your group,
people play games, friend. They lie. What can I do about liars? Are you people going to leave us? I just beg you, please leave us. Bill, we will bother nobody. Anybody wants to get out of here can get out of here.
And it wasn't very helpful of Congressman Ryan to take the note to Jones and read it to him.
Psst. SpongeBob, I talked to Flats for you. I used your name. It was all a misunderstanding. You what?
November 18th, early in the morning, the congressman and his crew, along with several other defectors, tried to hurriedly leave. During this high-stakes moment, another Temple member named Don Sly attacked the congressman with a knife, although he didn't end up hurting him. Not very sly, Donnie.
And what is your wish today? To go back home. And where's home? U.S.
You bring those kids back here! Hold on. You bring them back! One second. Don't you touch my kids!
It's chaos. Some are desperate to get out.
The group finally made it to the airstrip. They were getting out on the planes. They were about ready to leave. And Jones's guards, named the Red Brigade, arrived on a tractor and shot everyone. Additionally, one of the defectors was faking it and was actually there to kill people and shot someone on the plane. And the NBC reporters actually managed to capture a few seconds of the gunfire before dying, and I also don't recommend looking that up. Vernon Gosney, the man who passed the note, was shot, but ended up crawling away, and he lived. Back at Jonestown, Jones got on the intercom, he got on the radio, he told everybody, "White Knight is for real, we're doing this, everybody line up." He told them that the government would not forgive them for the shootings at the airstrip, and that if they didn't commit revolutionary suicide, that they were all gonna parachute in and kill all the babies. You know, the thing that he would end up actually doing. So the workers brought out this vat of cyanide that was mixed with Flavor Aid, not Kool-Aid. The most important thing that I want you to remember from this is that this was not a suicide. Despite what the media says, it was a mass murder. Nobody wanted to drink this shit. They didn't want to die. Most of them were forced at gunpoint. If they didn't take it, they would be injected with it, so it's not like they had a choice. And on the tape, you can hear several people, you know, trying to convince him otherwise. But that wasn't enough. Jones instructed the group to start with the babies and young children, and they were force-fed this Flavor Aid poison, and they all died unnecessarily cruel and painful deaths. And on the tape, you can hear the babies crying to death. So please don't look it up. Also on the tape, you can hear Jones telling people to stop whining and stop crying and that they should die with dignity. This is not how communists die, which is easy for him to say because he wasn't sitting there going through these painful effects of the poisoning. He died by a gunshot wound. That's right, he was a coward all the way into the very fucking end. And just like his bestie Hitler, Jones shot his beloved pet. That's right, he killed Mr. Muggs. And I don't know why. What was he gonna do? Go to the embassy and tell on you? So a couple people did decide not to participate, and they either hid or ran away. Some of them being lucky enough to just not be in the area at the time. Several dozen people were at the port. Some were at the doctor's office, some were in town running errands, but they were not around for the massacre. There were 2 elderly people who survived the massacre by hiding, Hyacinth Thrash and Grover Davis. And when they got back to America and were interviewed, they said that they had joined the People's Temple because they had this reputation of caring for the elderly. So, damn. There was also another 11 survivors, including the wife of the security chief, who had all snuck out and escaped into the jungle hours before the massacre happened. They didn't know what was going to happen, they just followed their gut feeling, and thank God they did. There's also Jim's sons, Stephen and Jim Jr., who survived because they had begged their dad to let them go to a basketball tournament that weekend. Both of them have since given several insightful interviews, and they are great first-person resources in learning about Jonestown. I suggest you go check them out. These 2 lost their entire family in one day, and then they had to shoulder the burden of being Jim Jones's children for the rest of their lives. And how could we forget about Vernon Gosney, the man who had slipped the note to the congressman? Well, he was shot 3 times at the airstrip, but he managed to crawl away and survive. His story is indeed very sad because he left his 4-year-old son behind at Jonestown, having the full intention to fight for custody once he had gotten back to America. But unfortunately, his son was one of the 300 children that were murdered. Afterwards, Gosney moved to Hawaii and proudly came out as a gay man. He worked as a police officer, and then he volunteered as a fundraiser for the Maui AIDS Foundation. And when I was looking up more information about Gosney to see if he had any recent interviews, I found out that he fucking died this year from complications of heart bypass surgery. So we just can't have anything nice, can we? The original Guyanese reports of the massacre listed only 300 to 400 people, but when the U.S. government came to investigate, they found more. There have been several FBI investigations, books, movies, documentaries about Jonestown if you want to learn more about it. My favorite source is jonestown.sdsu.edu. It is the alternate considerations of Jonestown and People's Temple. It's made by San Diego State University. They are very in-depth and comprehensive. There is a memorial, the Evergreen Cemetery in Oakland, California. It is the only Jonestown memorial that I know of, and every year survivors and ex-members get together to remember their loved ones and talk about their crazy-ass lives that only other People's Temple members can understand.
Many of the victims of Jonestown were laid to rest here at Evergreen Cemetery in Oakland. But just like everything else about this tragedy, that too is a matter of controversy. At this morning's memorial service, the granite marker listing the names of more than 400 victims stayed covered. That's because it also includes the name of Jim Jones, the deranged pastor who orchestrated the massacre.
It's akin to putting Hitler's name on their Holocaust memorial. He does not deserve to be there, and that's why you see that covered.
Dr. Gynona Norwood lost 27 family members at Jonestown and has been waging a fight for what she feels is a more respectful monument. So today, a new memorial wall was dedicated. It is a testament to the children who died. Over the years, the followers of Jones have been criticized for causing their own deaths, but Norwood says Jones controlled everything.
He literally had his henchmen pulling children out of their mother's arms and squirting poison in their mouth. It was murder. It was not revolutionary suicide. We must let the children speak from the wall, and we must hear their voices.
The people of Jonestown put their faith in a leader who led them to a violent end. After the service, people searched for familiar names and faces on the wall, and they each released a balloon, a symbol of loss, not just of the victims, but of what they could have accomplished in their lives.
We don't want to remember the horrors of the past, but we have to, so that they cannot be repeated.
Organizers say the Children's Wall will now be a permanent part of their annual remembrance ceremony.
Jonestown is a lot to process. For starters, I think it's hard for anyone to truly wrap their heads around the mass death of that many people. 900, it just doesn't seem like a real number. Some of you probably came from towns with fewer people than that. For all the jokes and zeitgeist surrounding Jonestown that's in our collective memory, it is important to remember that a religious leader was able to kill 900 of his own followers, convincing people to spoon-feed poison to their own babies in the span of an hour. Jonestown was just a massive tragedy, and I mean, I've choked up a few times recording this episode, but I cried a lot more writing it. It is so fucked up, and when you see the memorial and you see all of those people and that they all had individual lives and loved ones and hopes and dreams, and that they were all just trying to do something nice, and they fucking died because of this crazy man screaming at them. He was fucking addicted to Quaaludes, and he's out here talking about the Soviet Union's gonna come kill you. Like, I can't believe it. Jones was the ultimate example of the white savior complex and how it actually kills people instead of saves them. He was this Robin Hood figure for the poor, when in reality he was just a con man who was obsessed with himself and obsessed with power, and it took 900 people dying before we could fucking see it. I don't know. He disgusts me. I am so fucking angry that these people died, that the news exploited it, that people make Kool-Aid jokes, that, I mean, there's just so much. I don't know. I didn't think that this episode was going to affect me the way that it did, but it is really bad. That's all I really get to say about that. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you like my content, remember to consensually smash that like and subscribe button. I do want to say that I had planned on doing an episode about the Manson family, but shit just came up and I don't have time. So this is the episode that you get, but I think it's a good one, so follow me on all the social media, join the Discord for discourse. I love you all very, very much. Have a happy Halloween. Be safe. Don't drink and drive. Don't underage drink. Be kind to everyone that you meet. Be kind to yourself. Drink some water. And stay spooky. See you guys later.